Hello, everyone. It's FMC. I'm Jeremy. That's SP3. Week 1 is in the books. SP3. My bet's not looking good. I just got to say it. My bet's not looking good. Devin Booker got hurt. This is bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Devin Booker gets hurt.
I mean, you had Devin Booker get hurting our bet. My team, the Brooklyn Nets, are not off to the greatest start. I guess Kyrie and KD decided that they were only going to play 47 minutes and 45 seconds of game one, and decided they were just going to put their head down while Tatum get to the basket. And then game two, Kyrie treated his game like a vaccination. He didn't have any of it.
No shots for Kyrie. Let's start there. Let's start with Brooklyn, and we'll get to the injuries, but let's start with Brooklyn Boston, because for my money, that game one has been the best game of the playoffs so far. And there's been some really good games in the playoffs, but that game has been the best game in the playoffs. Coming down to the final two possessions, Kyrie was absolutely cooking all game. They had a shot to pretty much ice the game. They were up one in the final 10 seconds, and they could have iced the game, but Kyrie dribbled himself into trouble. KD had to take a tough shot because of Tatum's defense. Got the rebound, did not call the timeout, go down the other side. Brown finds Marcus Smart. Just great patience by Marcus Smart to pump fake, not take the three after the pump fake, not even take the initial three. And then he got in the lane, and instead of like taking a floater or any type of mid-range shot, found Tatum. Great spin move. Get the layup in the dying seconds. Just an all-time closing stretch in this game, in game one. And then the Celtics win that. They go on to win game two. Kevin Durant ain't looking like Kevin Durant right now. I think he had game two, second half, like 0 for 10 with like 5 turnovers.
Yeah.
That ain't Kevin Durant right there. That's game 6 OKC Kevin Durant, and fuck Kevin Durant. I don't care if they lose this series, but I like to see when Kevin Durant plays well, because he's just a fantastic basketball player to watch. Where are you at on this series? Do you think the Nets are done?
No, I have to like check people's mental capacity if you could look at those first two games and think that this is going to be a 5-game or sweep. Like
Bad company built right here. He said season 6, it might not go more than 5.
I know he established last week he's a Boston Celtics fan, and I always question the mental capacity of some Boston Celtics fans. I am a Laker fan after all, but no, I think they took care of business in Boston. Now it's time for Brooklyn to take care of business in Brooklyn. The crowd is not always the best there, but I think they're going to be behind this team. They don't have another team in New York to cheer for, so why not just put all your coins in the Brooklyn Nets basket? I think that I doubt that KD will have games like these first two games in Brooklyn. I think that he's gonna be on the money. He's gonna get over 30 points. I think Kyrie, he doesn't have back-to-back games like he had in game 2. I think they're perfectly fine. Now, if they lose in Brooklyn, then I'd be worried. Then I'd be like, okay, this is now a totally different series. Brooklyn is really have their back against the wall, but Boston just took care of business in their hometown, and they won those first two games by a total of 8 points. So
they were both close games. It's not like Boston. I mean, game 2, the Nets had the lead the majority of the game, and then in the fourth quarter, the Celtics ended up taking over and winning the game. Game 1, it literally came down to the last 2 possessions. Kyrie makes a shot, or KD makes a shot. Somebody makes a play on the offensive end. Then Boston has to, if it's a 4-point game, I don't know what they're doing in those final seconds. If it's a 3-point game, they need the 3. Somebody just plays defense on that final possession, or they stop Tatum. It literally came down to the last 2 possessions. I'm not writing the Nets off. The old saying is series doesn't start until a team wins on the road. Nobody's won on the road yet. So, but they've obviously got to win 2. You don't want to go down 3-1 heading back to Boston. I think Durant will play better. Back how many Bill says KD looks gassed. He should ball in game 3. He does look gassed, but he can't be this bad in game 3 and 4. We got to have a vintage Kevin Durant at one of these games, and it should probably come game 3 because they can't afford to go down 3-0, and they're going to need him to play good in game 3, because I don't think they're winning game 3 if he plays like this again. The fact that they've played both of these games close without him playing well is probably a good sign for them. It's just not a good sign that they've lost both of these games and he hasn't played well in either of these games. So we will see what game 3 holds. Do you think there's a chance that we get a Ben Simmons appearance in game 3 or 4?
I think that Ben Simmons might play at minimum 15 minutes between games 3, 4, and 5. I'm even throwing in 5 there. I think that he may come back in game 4. Maybe they'll see how he is on the court, but I don't expect him to play big minutes because that's going to just break up the flow. But like I said, I'm counting.
I don't know if they have a flow. I really don't know. Like, their defense isn't that great. Like, no. They don't have much in terms of perimeter defender. They don't have much in terms of rim protection. And like, at least Simmons is going to help out on the perimeter to stop people from getting to the rim. Offensively, I mean, I watched a lot of Westbrook and Durant days. There was a lot of your turn, my turn stuff. And that's the vibe I get. Yeah. Yes, that is the vibe right now with Kyrie and Durant.
The only time KD had to play within a system was in Golden State.
And even then, he still wanted to do his own shit. But yeah, this is very similar to, okay, your turn, my turn kind of stuff. And that ain't the way to go. Steve Nash, love him. Second favorite player all time, not OKC, behind Jordan. But there ain't much. It doesn't look like he got much of an offensive system there.
No.
And, you know, I don't know. He doesn't quite have the personnel because his best playmaker is Kevin Durant. Like, Kyrie, he's the point guard. Kyrie's never been much of a playmaker. He's always been a shot creator for himself. Durant is their best.
He's very much the Allen Iverson archetype, where he's a short 2 guard. That's what he really is.
Exactly. He's not much of a playmaker. Durant's their best playmaker, but he isn't someone who. He's not a guy that like runs the offense, like running pick and roll and stuff. He's a guy that kind of play makes because of his own gravity, if that makes sense. And they just don't really have a pick and roll partner for him in the first place. They got shooters around them, but their personnel isn't great. At least with Ben Simmons, I know he's not going to really get his own shot, but he can get to the rim. Like his length and athleticism, like he can still get to the rim. And he's not like a bad finisher around the rim or anything. Obviously, you put the ball in his hands, he can create for others. It would be the biggest thing. And that would take a lot of pressure off of Durant as the primary ball handler and the primary playmaker. So I think he gets in game 4. I would, even if they're down 3-0, I would play him game 4 just because he's going to be on the team next year. You might as well try to see what you got with him right now and get him just familiar with everything right now. I know it's very thrown into the fire if you're just going to put him into the playoffs, whether it's game 3, 4, if there's a 5, it's very much thrown into the fire, but you've got to figure out where Ben Simmons fits with this. And you might as well throw the guy into the fire, assuming, I mean, there is the mental health aspect. Like if he's ready to go and he says he can play, then get him in there and get him those reps with these guys and get that established and rolling. I think we do see Ben Simmons at some point in this series. I don't know how much of a difference he actually makes because he'll play basketball in a year. And he's not only not played basketball in a year, he's on a completely different team that he's never been with before. He's had like a month and a half, 2 months of practice with these guys. And I don't know how much like he's doing in practice. You see all the Twitter videos of, he's shooting threes. He's shooting mid-range shots. He ain't doing that shit.
He ain't doing that during the game.
Yeah. He ain't doing that shit in the game. And I don't know what kind of system they have in Brooklyn, like what they're doing in practice of kind of plays and stuff they're running. Practice just seems like, all right, Kevin, your turn. Kyrie, your turn. Everybody else just watching shit. So I don't know what they're doing there. I do think we see Ben Simmons in the series. I'm not writing off the Nets because Boston still needs to win a game on the road. You get up 2-0, that's a pretty good sign for a team. But 2-0, I mean, we saw it last year in the finals. Teams can come back from 2-0 very easily. I would kind of be shocked if Boston loses this series right now. And if they do, I don't know what happens to that team. That's a very scary Nets team if they're able to fight back from down 2-0. And if Ben Simmons does come back, and he is a big-time game changer for them.
Yeah, Boston looks like a well-oiled machine. That's why like I said last week, I left the door open. I called the Nets in 7, but I left the door open because I thought it would be like a one possession type of game, and the first two games kind of attest to that. Even with Kyrie having an awful game too, KD having two awful games, they lost by a combination of 8 points. So I'm still going with my bet that this is going to be, you take two at home, they're going to take two at home. I think
I
that
respect that.
they go back to Boston, it's going to be 2-2. I still have faith in the Nets. I still have faith in Kyrie. Got faith in KD that he won't have two games like this again. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But yes, the door is still open for me to switch my pick next week and say Boston's going to win here. But
it could be over next week. SB3 is going to change his pick and be like, you know what? It's over in like 5, and SB3's pick. I think Boston in 5.
Absolutely, I'm still leaving the door open. But you left the door open on a series that is now 3-0, sir.
Yeah.
With the MVP, Joel Embiid, showing why he's the MVP with a game winner in Toronto. He turned the fate around. He was the man that defended Kawhi Leonard on one of the best shots in playoff history. That three in the corner that took them out, that led to Toronto getting to the conference finals. And now Joel Embiid has turned the fate around, and it looks like he's about to either sweep or win in 5 over Toronto in a series that we both said would go 7 games. It doesn't look like it's going that far.
Game 1, I just Philadelphia blew them out. I just kind of wrote it off. Toronto game 1, it doesn't seem to matter who's on the team, who's coaching the team. They just suck in game 1. Game 2, the Barnes injury, I think, really hurt them because he had a great rookie season. And then him being out really affected them. Game 2, they didn't play well in that one either. But it comes back to you got to win a game on the road. Game 3 was Toronto's chance. They got a big lead early. They were a couple free throws away from just winning it in regulation. And Precious missed those free throws in the closing seconds. So they could have just won it in regulation and ended it there. Harden fouled out. They had to defend for 0.9 seconds on that final possession. On the inbound, they had nobody guarding the inbound. They had really, it felt like nobody was on Embiid. I don't know what kind of defense they were playing on that inbounds play to Embiid. All the credit in the world to Embiid. That's a tough shot for anybody, not just a man his size. That is a very tough shot with 0.9 seconds. And he hit that, and he played great. He's been the MVP of this series. That's unquestionable. That was a tough shot. That was Toronto's chance. I think Barnes is going to play game 4. Maybe Toronto gets game 4. I don't think it's really going to matter because I don't see – the Sixers, Harden, Doc Rivers, I ain't saying they're going to sweep. I'm not even going to say they're I don't put it past them to blow this.
Of course.
Doc Rivers and James Harden.
Doc Rivers is the coach you want to face if you're down 0-3.
Yeah, I don't put it past them to blow this, but Joel Embiid's a different level than anybody else on the court, especially anybody else on Toronto right now. I don't really know what Toronto can do to get back in this series, to win this series. I do think they could possibly win game 4. I'd be shocked if they won game 5. So it looks like, Philly's gonna win in 5 at the most. I thought this would be a more competitive series. I do think Barnes' injury hurt Toronto more than you would like to think. But at the end of the day, Philadelphia made the big comeback in game 3, and Toronto has nobody but themselves to blame with blowing that game 3 because big lead. They had all the momentum. Harden fouls out, free throws away from winning it. Don't defend the final 0.9 seconds. That's on you guys. All the credit to Philadelphia, all the credit to Embiid for making that shot and everything. But that's on Toronto for not just fundamental stuff, free throws and playing 0.9 seconds of defense on the inbounds.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you though. The Barnes injury is the real crucial point. And I don't remember a first week of the playoffs having this many injuries, this
Oh
many
man.
crucial injuries. Like we talked about Booker at the start. Barnes was my pick for rookie of the year. I know Mobley had a hell of a year as well and is very close between them, but I think Barnes had a bigger effect on his team than
Yeah.
Mobley did on the Cavs. So that's why I give my vote to Barnes. So I do agree that's a big time injury for them. That's another defender that we talked about last week that could have, on the double team on Embiid affect him some bit, but it's really been the Embiid show in these first three games. Like he is just that good. And I was listening to the commentary on game two, and they were talking about when Doc Rivers came to Philadelphia, he asked Embiid, why aren't you an MVP candidate? And Embiid says, I don't know. And he was like, well, it's because you always shooting these jump shots and you're not in the paint more. You're not getting free throws more. He's averaged the most free throws this year. That's what I said. That's why he should have won MVP last year, but I am giving it to him this year. I know the first round doesn't count for MVP, but he is the crucial point because this is not the James Harden that played for Houston. This is not the James Harden that has been an MVP candidate, a scoring champion. This is a very reduced James Harden. There is a reason that he talked himself out of a place on the Brooklyn Nets when the Brooklyn Nets had probably three of the best ball handlers and scorers in the league. There's a reason why they had to trade James Harden because he's not at his peak shape. He's a very round individual. When he looks more round than Embiid, that's an issue. He did play great defense. I will give it to him in game two because I watched that game very closely. He was getting steals, he was getting blocks,
He was
but
playing very well.
yeah, offensively, I just haven't seen the James Harden that played in Houston that was an MVP candidate. So that's why I say the reason why Philadelphia is a 4th seed, the reason why they've been one of the top teams in the East is because Joel Embiid is a certified MVP candidate, and in my opinion, the MVP of this season, and he will continue to make me look right throughout this first round. So I do agree with you. I'll give to because Toronto has Nick Nurse, one of the best coaches in the league. I'll probably give them game 4, and Doc Rivers is going to take his foot off the gas with a 3-0 lead. So I'll give them game 4, but yeah, I think they're going to finish things up in game 5. This ain't going 7 games like we predicted last week.
No, I'd be shocked if this goes 7 games unless Scotty Barnes come back and he's just a man on a tear. But I don't, and I love Scotty Barnes. I think he's going to be a very great player in the league. I mean, his rookie season was very over expectations because people thought he was going to go 6 to OKC. Like there was a lot of chat that like he was going to go 6, and then pre-draft he jumped up to 4 to Toronto, and people were like, "Oh, that's not really a reach." Like he's been very impressive in all these pre-draft workouts and everything. And like you said, like I would give Rookie of the Year to Mobley. You can easily make the argument for Barnes, and I'm not even mad at that. Similar to where I'm not mad if you want to pick Embiid, even though I still think it's Jokic, and the first round is meaningless when it comes to regular season MVP.
It shouldn't be meaningless because they don't give out the award until after the first round. The first round,
well,
in my
that's
mind,
the real issue.
Should be included.
Okay, that's the real issue then, isn't it? Give the award out before the playoffs even start. You're still gonna get the knocks of like, okay, well, Jokic, look, they're probably getting swept. Okay, maybe they win game 4, they're probably getting swept.
Like last week, you gave him 1 game against this Warrior team, and I gave him 2. I didn't. I underestimated the buzzsaw that is this Golden State Warriors team.
That team's back. Like
They are
100% back. And Steph coming off the bench, just be like, yeah, sure, I'll come off the bench and just drop 30. Like, whatever. Who cares? Jordan Poole, like, we've talked about him a little bit, but we said he was legit, and he is very legit. And Clay,
how is he not most improved player? That's what I'm wondering right now, because I said
stupid.
I said at the beginning of the year that he was going to be 6th man of the year, or him. I said it would be him or I forget his name right now from Miami, but
Hero.
Yeah, Hero, Tyler Hero. So I said either one of them would be sixth man of the year, but Jordan Poole, like I said last week, he played too many, started too many games, so he should be a most improved player. John Morant, I know he had a great year, but John Morant was rookie of the year in his first year, an all-star in his second year. How the hell is he most improved his third year? This is just a natural progression. It's not he's the most improved. Jordan Poole was a G League player and went from G League to being a part of a potential Western Conference finalist, it seems, because that three guard lineup with those three, Wiggins and Draymond, I don't see anyone, especially with a banged up Booker on the Suns. I don't see anyone in the West who can compete with that lineup.
We got to get the Suns. We got to get the Suns healthy. It looks like the Warriors are going to win. Honestly, in 4. Maybe Jokic does end up getting the game that I thought he might get, but Draymond's been great on him, and that was always going to be an issue for Jokic. Is Draymond is so good that you don't need to send like a double at him. Like Draymond can just kind of like hold his own, and they just don't have enough around him to where okay. Even if Jokic is neutralized a little bit, this guy can get his own shot. This guy can create. They got none of that. Absolutely none of that on that team. And without Murray, without Porter Jr., it's just not a good team. And that's why I think Jokic is the MVP, because he somehow led that team to a 6th seed and a very good record in the West. And that team has nothing. You see how bad this is. One, you do see how good the Warriors are when they're fully healthy. And we knew even at the start of the season, when we were doing our preview to start the season, we talked about like, oh, the Warriors, that's going to be an issue. People are really sleeping on the Warriors because you're going to have healthy Clay, healthy Steph, healthy Draymond. That team, we know what they are capable of when they are healthy. And they showed it early in the season, and then they got banged up throughout the season. They're healthy again. Jordan Poole has emerged on top of those guys being healthy, which is even scarier. Wiggins was an all-star for some reason, but Wiggins is like played his role, and that's all you need.
Not just an all-star, because you could just get an all-star because someone gets injured. He was an all-star starter, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, like he was an all-star. So what the fuck? So he's played his role and then some. And now Poole has emerged, which has knocked Wiggins back, but he's still been very good on this team. Like I think a lot of people were writing off the Warriors before the season, not us. Yeah. And now they are healthy, and we just see how good this team is. But this also just goes to show just how bad this Nuggets team is. Like without Jokic, they have nothing, absolutely nothing. And the Warriors are going to be a bad matchup for anybody. It's an extremely bad matchup for the Nuggets. Hi.
Running. She ran back in. Say hi.
Hi.
Say hi. No? You looking at mommy? Like, get me out of here. Of course, she had to do her running. But yeah, I mean, I think Jokic had the game that you expected from him in game 3. And then
and it wasn't enough. Like
it wasn't enough. They had 3 other players in double figures as well, and it just wasn't enough. So I think this is going to be a sweep, honestly. But I will say the Nuggets, even though they're down 3-0, they don't look as bad as the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Oh, okay. Let's get into this, because the Timberwolves won game 1. I thought this was like a fine matchup for Minnesota. One, because we didn't know how Memphis was going to be first playoffs and everything. I told you, Towns, he kills Adams. And what do the Grizzlies do? They just don't play Steven Adams, like, smartly. This is what killed me about Billy Donovan in the bubble when we should have beaten Houston. Is we should have just gone the all small lineup against Houston in game 7 because it was working. In game 6, like, it worked. And then it's like, oh no, we got to play Steven Adams against Houston, even though Robert Covington is there and Adams can't do anything against Covington. I told you Towns was going to kill Adams. He did that in game 1. And so Memphis is like, we'll just go small. We'll just play Jackson at the 4, and we just won't play Steven Adams. That worked for them. This is still, though, it worked for them in game 2. They did it in game 3, and Minnesota adjusted. They adjusted enough because Patrick Beverley, for some reason, just turned into, I don't know who to compare him to. He's throwing alley-oops to the backboard, off the backboard to himself. He's like posting up John Morant. He's just like shredding the Memphis defense. Like he's just out here. He's looking like Tracy McGrady Like Patrick Beverley's out here looking like
That
Tracy McGrady.
that was a Tracy McGrady move when he did that. I was like, yo, what is he doing? Is he like he's just going into business for himself? I feel like, D'Angelo Russell, he always has like a good amount of points when you look at the box score, but he doesn't really have an
It doesn't
impact.
influence the game that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. I mean, Anthony Edwards is Anthony Edwards. He's been playing well, but those leads, you're up by like what?
There's no excuses for last night if you're Minnesota. You got up big early, and then Memphis made a run at the end of the half to close it to like 9 points at the end of the half. But then it was like, oh, okay, Minnesota might be in trouble. They rebuilt the lead. They were up like 25, 26 in the last minute of the third quarter. They entered the fourth quarter with a 20-plus lead. Like, they were up huge. They got outscored like 31 or 36 to like 5 in the fourth quarter. Maybe they got some garbage time points. It was an insane, because they nearly lost by double figures. How are you up 20 plus entering the fourth and you lose by 9? Like, how is this possible? I don't understand. And it's not even, it's like, oh, well, fuck, John Morant just got hot and they couldn't do anything about Dylan Brooks just got hot. They didn't even get anybody like getting hot. Like, Memphis just like beat them with just everybody just beat them. And Minnesota couldn't do anything. Absolutely, like nothing. Towns couldn't do anything. Towns got 4 shots. All right. I don't know what goes wrong when your best player only gets 4 shots. I understand that the defense is like swarming him. They're denying him the ball and everything. They mix it tough. If you're Karl-Anthony Towns, you just got to find a way to get more than 4 shots. If you're the coach, you got to find a way to get him free to get him more than 4 shots. If you're the other players, you've got to do something to get him more than 4 shots. Like, that is just absolutely unacceptable. I know Patrick Beverley was feeling himself and thought he was Michael Jordan or some shit, but you're not the best player on the team. You're not even the third best player on the team. All right. You got to find the way to get your best player more shots. If you're Russell, if you're Edwards, you got to find a way to just create offense and just score. Like, I don't know how you just go that cold and do nothing in that fourth quarter. Credit to Memphis. They did a great job in the fourth quarter. A comeback like that doesn't happen if one team doesn't push it and get it, but a collapse like that doesn't happen if one team just completely just shits the bed. And Minnesota absolutely shit the. I don't know how you come back from something like that. Minnesota could win this series and we're going to look like idiots next week. I really don't know how you come back from something like that.
That's a demoralizing type of loss, honestly. And they lost the fourth quarter, ladies and gentlemen, 37-12. 37.
So they did end up getting to double figures, but it was legit like 31-5 at one point. And then
because they won the first quarter 39-21, then they won the third quarter by nearly 10 points. Like, it was just the even. They were like the Golden State Warriors, except the Golden State Warriors still played in the second and third in the fourth quarter. They always did very well to start off. Talk about the KD Warriors, where they came out the first quarter gangbusters, and then would take it down a little bit in the second quarter, and then they would come back in the third quarter and completely take over the game. And that's what it looked like Minnesota was doing. And then they just completely collapsed, like you said. Karl-Anthony Towns, I said it last week, I have no faith in him. Like, I had faith in him going into the play-in, and I was like, he was the best player on the court against the Clippers, so that's why I was taking Timberwolves over the Clippers. But like, what he's shown me in the first couple of games, he was good in the first game against Memphis, but the last 2 games, it just hasn't been good. And that performance last night was just like, how is your best player only have 8 points on 4 shots? Like, what? Are you serious?
He was good against Adams. I always like that matchup. Credit to Memphis for making the adjustment and just like pulling Steven Adams. I don't think he played like a single minute last night. Like, credit to make that and pulling Steven Adams. But yeah, I like Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm actually like, I'm probably higher on him than most because I think he's just very good. Like, you don't see a big man who shoots like that. Like, he's a knockdown shooter. But the fact that he doesn't always create his own offense is an issue. And this is the thing, like people had the debate, and I think Towns kind of sparked it. Like, I'm the best big man shooter of all time. And Kevin Durant is like, and we just like forget about Dirk Nowitzki. Like, what are we doing here? And like the thing people forget about like Dirk is one, he's a better like all around shooter than Towns. If you just want to talk like knockdown shooters, maybe I'd still probably lean Dirk. The biggest difference between these two though is that Dirk, he's creating his own shit. Like you can feed the ball to Dirk and you ain't got to worry about it. He's gonna take his little, one-legged fade away and everything. He's gonna get his own shot. Towns, he can't create for himself. He doesn't deal with the double team well. He doesn't deal with swarming well. He doesn't fight enough for the ball to get it in his spot enough. And like that's an issue. Knockdown shooter, he's a great shooter. But as far as just like getting his own shot, he's definitely not in Dirk's league when it comes to that. No. I still like Towns. This is not good that he really is a very good basketball player. And yet this is the second time in the playoffs. The first one, look, they were at 8 seed. They were up against the 1 seed Houston. That was tough. This one, they're a 7th seed, but you've just got to do something to help yourself here. And he just hasn't done anything to help himself. The play-in against the Clippers didn't speak too good for him either. It's tough. I like Towns. I think he can still be a very good player on a very good team. I don't think he is a one option. And I don't think at least yet Minnesota has another one option. It's not D'Angelo Russell. And I'm actually a fan of D'Angelo Russell too. It's not him.
I'm baby Lakers all day.
I don't think he's a one option. Anthony Edwards, he could be that guy. He's not there yet. Because this is like his 2nd season, I believe. He's not quite there yet, but he's shown a lot throughout this season and then in the playoffs. I do think he could really emerge as a 1. And then if that pushes Towns to a 2, Russell to a 3, maybe they can figure things out. But I think right now Towns is still kind of the 1, and I don't know if he's fully accepted that he's the 2. And it's tough. It's a weird dynamic for them. Towns has got to figure something out to just be better. At the end of the day, Minnesota should have won game 3, and they completely blew it. And credit to Memphis. I mean, that's a team that fights. That's a team that isn't going away easy. That's a good basketball team. I mean, they're the 2nd seed for a reason. I don't like their chances against the Warriors, but that's a very good basketball team.
Absolutely. And this is the team that if you're the Timberwolves, if you're one of the bottom half teams in the West, you wanted to go against Memphis. You didn't want to see the Suns. You didn't want to see the Warriors. You rather have versed the Grizzlies out of those top 3 teams. So that's why I think that people had higher expectation than it was probably necessary for the Timberwolves. I still think this is going 6-7 games. I know I said last week.
I actually agree.
Yeah, I had Memphis in 7 games, and I'm gonna stick by that prediction because like we said, Timberwolves should have won that game. It was demoralizing. I don't know how they're gonna respond in game 4, but lucky for them, that Minnesota crowd has been deprived of playoff basketball for such a long time. They're gonna be still behind their Timberwolves come game 4. So I still have faith that they're gonna even things up before we get back to Memphis. And then Memphis it's a game of who's gonna win on the road. Once it's 2-2, that's what I feel like a playoff series really gets kicked off. One playoff series I don't see going 2-2 is the Utah Jazz being the Utah Jazz. And I watched game 2 so closely because I was like, game 2 is going to determine if Luka Doncic has to rush back. I said that. I was like, if the Jazz just take care, get 2 wins on that Dallas home court, Luka Doncic has to hurry back game 3, and we don't know what type of Luka Doncic we're gonna get. But once Jalen Brunson and Maxi Kleber was the difference makers in game 2, I was like, man, Luka Doncic, he could come back game 4, game 5. Like if it's 2-2 by then save him for game 5. I don't even know anymore if Luka Doncic has to play for Dallas to beat Utah.
These are actual discussions I had with my friend about this. Is the Luka injury? Game 1 was close, right? Like game 1 was close. Utah pulled it out, and my friend is like, I think Luka's got to play game 2. Like, it seemed like Dallas had their shot in game 1. Doesn't feel like they're going to play that well in game 2. Utah seems to have it figured out. I'm like, dude, I didn't really watch game 1. I watched game 1. I was like, dude, Utah sucks. This team is absolute garbage. I really think Dallas can still get the split here, and you go from there. Like, this team is good. And then I said, like, you know what? Dallas could honestly lose like both of these games, and if they can win like game 3 or 4, obviously game 4 if you're down 3-0. Like, I would not be shocked if like Luka just plays game 4 if they're down 3-0 and they still come back and Utah blows a 3-0 lead. And if Luka comes back in game 4, like, this Utah team is not good. This is what I was telling him after game 1, a game in which they won. I know this team is not good. Okay. I'm telling you. And then Dallas wins game 2. And I'm like, I told you, this team is not good at all. And he's like, oh, Luka's got to play game 3. Like, they're in Utah now. Like, they'll figure it out.
No!
Like, I feel like he's like, Luka's got to play game 3. Like, I'm like, God, I'm telling you, like, you got the split. That's all Dallas needed, was just get the split that buys them a game. Even I said it. I was like, Utah could win both game 3 and 4, and they will blow a 3-1 lead if Luka can come in game 5. This is not a good team. And he's like, oh, I think Luka's got to play game 3. And then Luka got ruled out game 3, and I texted him. I was like, Luka's out game 3. It's fine. Like, Dallas is fine. He's like, I don't know. This is good. Last night, watching the game, Utah, it's like the third quarter, and they're down like 78, 60 something. I was like, Utah is trash, absolute trash. All right. And then what's his name does the cheap shot on Brunson. Fortunately, he was able to come back. That was Royce O'Neal. Fortunately, he's able to come back. He's like, Utah is absolute trash. And then they win that game. I texted this morning. I was like, what did I tell you? And then, it looks like Luka might come back game 4. And like, they shouldn't even bother. Like,
they shouldn't. They should save them for game 5. Honestly, like, what do you have to lose? You're on Utah's home court. You're up 2-1. Like, if it's 2-2, it's a brand new series, and then Luka's back.
Here's the reason why I'd probably play Luka game 4 if he's good. If you're like worried about like any type of injury risk, don't risk it, because at worst it's a 2-2 series, and you've proven this team ain't very good, and you can beat them without him. But here's why I do it, is you want Luka to get back into some type of rhythm for the second round. And you want to do that. Like, you want to do that with a comfortable kind of 2-1 lead, instead of a kind of maybe like a pressure 2-2, where it's like, oh, Luka's back. He's feeling the pressure to maybe like carry the team and stuff. You could ease him back in 2-1 of like, okay, Luka's back. He can just kind of play comfortable and loose, play his game. And if he's not like fully feeling it, it's like, hey, take a step back. Let Brunson do his thing. Let Dinwiddie do his thing. Give Max a bunch of shots still. So I think that's why, if he's feeling like good for game 4, I'd probably play him just as a rhythm and comfortability thing. But otherwise, this Utah team, dude, this team sucks. Just absolute. We said it last week, is that even with Luka being hurt, I still don't trust Utah, but I would think they would beat this Dallas Mavericks team that isn't very good without Luka. And game 1 was close. They had to fight, scratch, claw for game 1. Rudy Gobert had to have like the defensive performance of a lifetime for them to win game 1. And then game 2 and 3, they've lost. Last night's game wasn't even that competitive. Like, game 2 like was competitive, and like Utah or Dallas just hit a bunch of big shots and everything. Last night wasn't even that competitive though. This Utah team, I don't know what they do in the offseason, assuming they lose this first round, which feels like a good right now. I've watched enough Utah in the playoffs to know that I don't see them fighting back and winning this series. I don't know what they do in the offseason. I feel like Gobert's got to go. You can build around Mitchell, but I've said this for a very long time. Donovan Mitchell, very good player, like offensively good, very streaky offensive player, overhyped because of what he did as a rookie against OKC. Garbage OKC team with Melo that just had very high expectations because like, oh, Rush, George, Melo, like this team is going to be great. But then Robertson got hurt and the defense fell apart, and Mitchell as a rookie just completely torched them. And everybody's like, well, Donovan Mitchell, he's the second coming of Jesus over here. And it's like, look, just because you beat this OKC team that I watched all season and could have told you wasn't as good as people wanted to make them out to be, doesn't mean you're that great. And I still think Donovan Mitchell is very good, but he has just failed to live up to just that rookie performance. And he's failed to live up to it because he just beat a bad team. Like, he just beat a bad OKC team. It's as simple as that. And then I mean, we saw what happened to Portland. Portland beat a shitty OKC team the following season. You're like, oh, Portland, this team's great. Like, no, you just beat OKC. Beating OKC doesn't mean shit. All right? Just because you beat that team doesn't mean anything. Look what the Warriors did. Oh, 3-1 against OKC. They fucking lost to Cleveland. Just beating OKC doesn't mean anything.
It means that people are gonna overhype you for a year or a couple of weeks. But yeah, I do agree with you. Donovan Mitchell, I think that he's gonna be a very good to great number 2 on a potential championship team. But the fact that the Jazz has them as their number 1, you've made it clear that him and Gobert don't work with each other, let alone work together well. They don't really even want to work together, and they don't even want to pass the ball to each other. So this is just a team that was just meant to lose in the first round. They are a 5th seed that probably should have, in that West, should have been a top 4 seed, but they weren't. And yeah, it's coming to fruition right now where they're losing to a Luka Doncic, Luka-less Mavs team. I was like dumbfounded by game 2. Game 2, like I said, I watched that very closely, and Jalen Brunson was just like their kryptonite. Like, he was getting into the lane, getting little floaters. He was passing it out to Maxey, and he was making threes. And it seems like we got the same fruition last night. They are just not ready for the playoffs. They shouldn't even be that high of a seed. They shouldn't be a 5th seed. If the Nuggets had one of the players they had injured, they would probably be facing the Mavs right now, and Utah would be getting torched by the Warriors. But because the Nuggets didn't have anybody besides Jokic, they had to go through the buzzsaw that is the Golden State Warriors. And I think that if this was the Nuggets versus the Mavs, this would probably be the opposite. It would be 2-1 Nuggets and not 2-1 the Mavs. So like I said, like I understand your theory of, bringing Luka back if he is healthy. I would say, hold him off, or if anything, if you are going to have him play, let him come off the bench. Do what the Warriors are doing with Steph Curry. No, he's probably not coming off the bench. He's probably not, but that's what I would do just to get him, ease him back in, because you don't want to rush anything, because I think that honestly, even without Luka, the Mavs are winning the series, and then you have to verse the Suns without Booker. They have a much better chance of having a win over them with a healthy Luka, who probably takes off one more game before coming back in Game 5 against the Suns without Booker. So I mean, that's an interesting series, because that's one that we said would be 4 or 5 games. And after how the Pelicans looked last night, there is stretches of that game where Brandon Ingram was the best player on the court. And you, like I said, with the playoffs, the best player on the court usually wins. So it's going to be very interesting the next couple of games between the Suns and the Pelicans. We may see this go down to like Game 6 or Game 7, which looks really bad for your bet as well as for the Suns' chances in the later rounds.
When the Pelicans beat the Clippers in the play-in, I was actually very excited, because I think the Clippers were kind of a tougher test for Phoenix than the Pelicans. I didn't trust the Pelicans defense. I liked what they had offensively. I've always been a big fan of Brandon Ingram. CJ McCollum's been playing great in New Orleans. Like, offensively, those guys can go off. But defensively, I just think, well, Chris Paul's just going to torch this defense. Devin Booker is just going to torch this defense. I mean, that's exactly what they did in Game 1. That's where it was heading in Game 2, with Devin Booker going off until he got hurt. And I was like, I feel like the Pelicans could, or I feel like Phoenix could sweep New Orleans. Like, that would be great for my bet. They'll get the Jazz or the Mavericks in round 2. Like, okay, maybe they get a game. Like, maybe one of those teams gets a game. But overall, like, I like Phoenix's chances against both of those teams. And then if they got the Warriors, I mean, fuck, they could lose that series. Even if they were healthy, that would have really killed the bet. But if that goes 7, 1 game in the first 2 rounds, 7, if they win, that's 4. I'm still good. So I was very excited when they got the Pelicans. And then Booker gets hurt. They lose Game 2. I have no confidence that this could easily go 6. And they're losing 2. They play the Mavericks in round 2 without Booker for at least a couple games. Even with Booker, that could easily go 6. And then it's dead before even the conference finals. So yeah, it's not looking good with Devin Booker's injury. It's very sad that Devin Booker got hurt. I want the best players to be healthy. Like injuries suck. Even take the bet aside, SP3. Like you want the best players to be healthy. You want to see a healthy Suns team, which has been the best team all season, against this Warriors team, a healthy Warriors team in the conference finals. No one wants to see this Suns team without Devin Booker against this Warriors team that's healthy in the conference finals. That's not fun. That's not fun. Even though the Suns
That's
team
a
is really
sweep.
good,
That's a sweet way to have it.
You want to see the best players play. And Devin Booker, he's been one of the best players in the league this season. Like he's the best player on the side. I love Chris Paul, but Devin Booker is just a completely different dynamic for them because he's a flamethrower. Like that's a dude who's going to drop 40 on you at any given moment. So it's unfortunate he got hurt. Bet aside, you just want to see the best players out there on the court. And unfortunately for the Suns, we're not getting. I hope, as they said, 2 to 3 weeks. I hope they can get past New Orleans. And then, because look, no offense to New Orleans, they're a good team. It's a very good story, especially the way they started the season. You don't have faith in them to make a run. It's just like, okay, cool. No. They won because the Suns were banged up and stuff. You want to see the best teams go at it. And the Suns are the better team, at least on paper, when healthy. I mean, not even on paper. Game 1 proved that they're just like the better team, and they were probably going to win this series in 4 or 5. I want to see the Suns and Warriors in the Western Conference playoffs because that's what we deserve as fans, and that's the best matchup. Like that has the potential to be an all-time series. Chris Paul, Steph Curry going at it again, like
the good old days. It's a redemption series for CP3 because the last time he was in that position in the conference finals against the Warriors, he went down after game 5. So I would have loved to see it, but it is kind of karma. What happened last year in the first round?
Wait, what are you doing, karma?
We were up 2-1, and AD went out. He gets injured, and we lose that series. So it was on a freak accident type of play, like it happened to Devin Booker. So the basketball gods
karma
are just getting karma because the Suns got a red carpet to the NBA Finals last year, and they're making the road a little bit tougher because it looked like they were going to get the red carpet once again with Luka Doncic injured, with Steph Curry not healthy heading into the playoffs. But the Warriors look like they're on the money. That's going to be a tough series. The Luka Doncic look like he's going to get back in this first round. So the road is going to be tougher regardless if they got Booker or not. I hope Booker is back. I do agree with you. It's just going to make for a funner conference finals when it probably eventually is Suns versus Warriors. But I like to see the Suns earn it a little, and this is them earning it a little with having to face some type of adversity. They haven't had to face any of it in the last 2 seasons besides the regular season with Chris Paul going down. I want to see them have some adversity here and get through it. I believe in the Suns to make it to the conference finals, but I like that their road is not as much of a carpet ride as it was last year.
Look, I'm fine if they don't just get the carpet rolled out for them and they've got to face some adversity. I don't want injuries to be that adversity. Go down 2-1 or something to, have to fight back, but be healthy and stuff. It's not their fault that they were the best team in the league, SB3, that the West wasn't as good as people may have thought. That's not their problem. Injuries suck. There's no karma. It's a horrible take.
Karma is real in the NBA. Karma is real, ladies and gentlemen. But the West is very interesting. Like I said, it's like the all injury team is ridiculous this playoffs. Chris Middleton going down for the Bucks has just made our Bulls. I know the Bulls fans are in the chat. I see Jeremy saying who's ready for a Bulls 2-1 lead. I don't know if they're gonna win tonight. I think Giannis is gonna step up and he's gonna win game 3, but it is going to probably be a lot longer of a series than we predicted last week.
It certainly is. I thought maybe the Bulls would get a game, just a courtesy game. Game 1, the Bucks really didn't look that good. They won, but they honestly they weren't looking very good in that game. Game 2, they again weren't looking good. And then Middleton got hurt, which obviously didn't help their cause. The Bucks made it competitive at the end. Like Giannis decided to step up and made it competitive at the end. I'm still taking Giannis over anybody that the Bulls have, and I'm going best player on the floor. Drew Holiday's got to be better. I mean, we kind of talked about it last week. Budenholzer still isn't like a good coach just because he has a championship. I still don't have like any faith in him as a coach just because they won the title last season. But at the end of the day, they got Giannis, and that's just a guy who's like, all right, fuck it. I'm just going to go out here and just dominate in all aspects of the game. And that's certainly what I still expect to happen. Losing Middleton hurts them. Again, I hope Middleton is healthy for the second round because they're definitely, maybe they don't need him against Chicago. They're definitely going to need him against Boston or Brooklyn. And we just need these guys healthy. I still think the Milwaukee wins this in 6. Maybe it goes 7 with this Middleton injury, but I still like Milwaukee in 6. But credit to the Bulls. I mean, the Bulls, DeRozan did what he does in game 1. He played great in game 2. Alex Caruso. Let's bury the Lakers a little bit here, SP3. How do you let Alex Caruso just walk? This man was clearly the key to the defense. This man's all over the place. He could have covered up a lot of holes for the Lakers. He's been a big turning point. When the Bulls were like really good early in the season, like Caruso and Lonzo were just like wreaking havoc defensively. And they were playing great. And then they were getting points from DeRozan and Levine. Like they were a very good team. And that's why they got off to this big start. And then the injuries kind of hurt them and they fell down. And then they couldn't beat any of the top team, no matter it seemed like who they were playing. Lonzo, I don't think is going to play. But Caruso is still fucking things up on the defensive end. So former Laker great, Alex Caruso.
Hey, I always say that. They're always the Laker greats that come through. I always called that our biggest misstep of last offseason. Even bigger than getting Russell Westbrook was letting Caruso go for nothing. For nothing, they let Caruso go. That was a mistake. I loved Alex Caruso on last year's team, on the year before that. I thought that he was a crucial part of our defense that won the championship in the bubble. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think it was a mistake to let him go for nothing, and he's showing why he was a crucial part of our team this season with the Bulls. So, yeah, he looked great in game 2, defensively, doing his thing, and I'm just not here for the Lakers slander. I know some of y'all are, but we are not in the playoffs. I don't want to hear nothing about the Lakers until Jeremy has to do the PowerPoint presentation on why the Lakers are going to be a great team again. Make the Lakers great again.
I've already got a nice rough draft of that coming too. Get ready.
Four more losses for the Suns, and then Jeremy has to do the PowerPoint presentation. We're gonna make a whole thumbnail of Jeremy with like a Lakers hat. No, I want like you the stand up for WWE, but it's gonna be your face with a Lakers hat.
That's actually really
stand up for the Lakers. It's going to be great, ladies and gentlemen. The build-up. We're building anticipation for that. But yeah, the first week of the playoffs was fun. Like I said, I've never seen this many injuries though that really are kind of messing up our predictions from last week. We talked about most of the series that kind of are going the way we expected. Heat being up 2-0, that makes a whole bunch of sense against the Hawks, who it feels like the Hawks just played their heart outs to make it to the playoffs and they got nothing left. I think they are going to get a game against
They were in it. They were in it in game 2. They were in it in game 2.
But I'm mostly talking about Trae Young. Trae Young looked like he gassed out. He put all his effort into the play because he hasn't been Trae Young in these first 2 games. I expect him in Atlanta to play better. So I think that they will make this probably a 5-game series. Maybe if Trae is ice Trae, he makes it a 6-game series. But yeah, this is definitely the Heat's gonna win that one. And we talked about Boston, we talked about Milwaukee and the Bulls. That one is a little bit more surprising than anything. But I think that so far the week 1, outside of the injuries, we kind of have gotten what we've expected. We talked about Utah being Utah. We talked about this Grizzlies around Minnesota as well as the Nets and Celtics. Even though that's a 2-0 lead, it's like I said, it's only been decided by 8 points. That's still a very close series. The only one that kind of is not going the way we expected is Philly and Toronto, but we seem like we know what we're talking about with the NBA so far.
I don't know if that's true. I don't think we really know what we're talking
We
about.
do. We do. We are better than Skip. We're
True.
better than Shannon.
That's
we're better
true.
than Stephen A. Kendrick Perkins. Man, Kendrick Perkins can't even pronounce words properly. So we're better than all of these. We're better than former NBA players. Damn it.
Tracy McGrady, he's got some terrible takes.
Bless
Tracy McGrady.
Man, they've hit Max Kellerman with Keyshawn Johnson and Jason Williams. Jason Williams actually is one of the few analysts that actually makes some sense with a lot of the things he says. So I'll give him credit.
NBA playoffs week 2. I'm excited for what's about to happen this week. Nobody get hurt. Please.
We don't need any more injuries. We've had enough injuries. You can start an all-star team with the injured people out of these playoffs. Like you got Devin Booker, Chris Middleton, Zion Williamson.
I'm not counting Zion as one of these injured players. He hadn't played all damn season.
All-star.
Just like I'm not counting Ben Simmons as like an injured player.
All-stars. Look at the people that are not in the playoffs. LeBron James. The playoffs are just not the same without LeBron James. Man, I saw so many Twitter accounts say that this week.
Be better. And when he started like hyping Patrick Beverley and then the Timberwolves went downhill, that was the best. That was the best last night. He's like, Patrick Beverley, he's different. It's like, yeah. He's real different, LeBron.
Him and Kyle Kuzma on Twitter are like the equivalent of Undisputed and First Take on social media. Like they are just really bad at analyzing the NBA. Like they just be saying outlandish stuff. Kuzma is actually better at analyzing than LeBron seems to be, but
LeBron he'd be like Magic Johnson. When LeBron retires, he's just gonna throw out these like hot takes like Magic Johnson. It's gonna be great.
Of course.
Man, when LeBron,
it's gonna be fun.
Patrick Beverley, like fuck him. And when he's like popping off, he's like, Ja Morant, too small, and he's throwing alley oops and stuff. Like it was great. It was all fun and games when you're up 20 and stuff. What happened? Patrick Beverley? Ja Morant, watch out. In game 2 or game 4. All right. Just please watch out. Patrick Beverley. I don't trust this guy around athletic point guards and knees. Like, please be careful.
That is true.
That
is true.
Please be careful, Ja Morant. Please be careful, Ja Morant from Patrick Beverley. Please. I don't need Ja Morant getting hurt next. Just don't need it. I don't trust Patrick Beverley. History.
Please, Ja Morant, we want you in the playoffs. We want you to verse these Warriors teams. I think that would be a very interesting game because of how, Memphis can turn it on defensively. The Warriors are just, like I said, they're a buzzsaw. And I'm so happy that the Warriors seem like they're back. This is the best way for the Suns to not make the NBA Finals. That's all I'm for.
Why do you hate like good basketball and seeing the best teams? SP3. Why do you hate that?
I always say if the Lakers are not in the playoffs, if the Lakers are not in position to win, I need a team to hate. I need a team to despise. All the years that the Lakers were out of the playoffs with the baby Lakers with, D'Angelo Russell and Lonzo and Ingram and Kuzma and Randall, the only solace that I had was the fact that I could root against the Miami Heat and the Cleveland Cavaliers, whatever team LeBron was on during those years. It was all fine and dandy because I just rooted against them. And it backfired on some occasions, but it was the only solace that I had, that I could root against LeBron teams. And then when LeBron joins the Lakers, if we don't make the playoffs, as long as I didn't want KD and the Warriors to win another title, so I rooted against them, and then they didn't win. I was all perfect and dandy. KD leaves, and then it was now time for the Lakers to be in the playoffs again. We won the bubble championship, the Mickey Mouse title. Toronto. We make it to the playoffs, and then we were up 2-1, ladies and gentlemen, before the basketball guys came down and shined the light in AD's eyes, and he went down, and then we lost that series. And ever since then, I've been directing my fury at the Phoenix Suns, and more specifically CP3. It's not just because we share the same initials. It is because he doesn't get the credit. He doesn't get the type of scrutiny that Doc Rivers gets for all those teams that he was also on that just choked, that were up 3-1 and lost, that were up 3-2 in the conference finals, and he gets injured. He's injury prone. He's a choke artist, and he's not going to win the championship because Steph Curry is better.
I mean, Steph Curry is better than Chris Paul. Like, I'm not going to...
I only speak facts. Like,
I'm not going to argue that, but you're just a hater. You hate good basketball. This is your real issue. You watch the Lakers all season play their trash form of basketball. I don't even know if you can call it basketball the way they played at times. And then you see the Suns, just a well-oiled machine. Chris Paul running the offense, Devin Booker doing his thing, everybody, good role players, everybody who knows what they're supposed to be doing, defined positions, unlike what they got going on in the Lakers, where nobody knows what they're doing. And it's like, oh, am I supposed to pass the ball? Am I supposed to be here? Aren't you supposed to be guarding that guy? The Suns, they actually know what they're doing on a basketball court. And you're just so not used to that. You're like, this competent team, I don't like them. I don't like this competent team because I'm so used to incompetence that's all I know. So I'm not rooting for competence.
I'm rooting for the Warriors.
That's your real issue.
Warriors. What? The Warriors aren't competent. I'm rooting for the Warriors.
Dealing with injuries and stuff all season. You just don't like competent basketball. You hate the Suns because last season they beat the Lakers. And you're calling karma these injuries karma. They beat the Lakers last season. You're on this Anthony Davis train of, if we were healthy, we would have beaten the Suns last season.
We were up 2-1 with the lead. We were up 2-1 with the lead in the game that AD goes down. We would have won. He was the best player on the court through 3 games.
Maybe he shouldn't be so injury prone. Maybe he shouldn't be hurt.
I'm saying the same thing about Chris
Maybe
Paul.
It's karma for the bubble championship where he was great, and maybe it's karma for them trading all these young guys. Wouldn't the Lakers be a lot better now if they had Lonzo and Ingram and Kyle Kuzma? They were all playing very great.
I'll hand it to you. You got me there. You got me there. If the baby Lakers were still on this team, see, I blame that on LeBron.
Yeah, the GM comes in and just gets all these young guys traded. And let's get injury-prone Anthony Davis. Let's get washed, declining Russell Westbrook. Maybe you should have trusted the process. That's working out for Philly right now. They got MVP Joel Embiid. Why can't Brandon Ingram be an MVP?
My hands up. You got me there. I want the baby Lakers back on this team. I was never down for trading all the baby Lakers for AD. I was trying to come up with ways that we could at least keep Ingram. That's who I knew. I knew Ingram was going to be Ingram was the key. Yeah, he was the key to making the trade done. So I was like, at least we kept Kuzma.
They did keep Kuzma. And then they traded him for Westbrook, even though he was one of their better defenders and could still score. LeBron, who are they? I
didn't expect this Lakers slander. I thought we were talking about NBA playoffs. I even watched the second season of Too Hot to Handle, so we could talk about that. Man, right? My significant other did not enjoy that first season. And I think the key with the first season, why she didn't enjoy it too much, is because it didn't have enough trash people. Season 2 upped the amount of trash people, and they just lost. They nearly lost all the money. They started off with $100,000, and they got down to $30,000. Because motherfuckers was having sex on the show when they wasn't supposed to. Like, I was wondering, that was my whole thing in the first season. I was like, how much is it gonna be if somebody has sex? And then no one really had sex in that season. And then this season they had sex, and it was like what, $20,000 or like $10,000 for having sex. I was like, this season is peak. But we just started season 3. They are off to a storming start. They're off to a storming start already. They started off with 200 grand and they're up to 74,000 because they.
Oh, so you're a few episodes into season 3.
Yeah, I think I'm up to like the middle part of season 3.
Oh, dude,
where
when
they
were.
Go ahead.
When we were watching this, they started with 200,000, and then as it just kept going down, we were like, they're just blowing through. They're blowing through more than the other seasons. They've had more, and they've already lost all of it. If this was the other season, they'd be in the negatives right now. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
Like they gave him the night alone, Nathan and Holly, and they was like they just let him go. They was like just a test to see if you're gonna follow the rules. Go ahead, and then everybody else is around Lana, and Lana's like, "Oh, this is also a test for y'all. Do y'all trust them enough to not do anything? And you can get all your $57,000 back." And the only one, the Hawaiian dude, who's just been so oblivious.
Oh, that poor dude tried to say I love you in the first episode with his songs and shit. Yeah, and then that didn't work out for him, and he's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm just here now. Yeah, everyone, I gotta remember because we just binged watched season 1 through 3 within the span of 2 weeks. So a lot of it just legit. Dude, we watched the first episode of season 1, immediately hooked. And there were 3 seasons at this point. So immediately hooked by the time we were watching season 1. And so once they all 3 were out, we were just going through it very, very quickly. So a lot of it just runs together for me. So I'm looking at the wiki of everything. Holly, that's who everyone was just pining after. 5 people are oh, Holly, she's who I'm after.
No. In season 3, wasn't it Georgia?
Was it Georgia?
Yeah, because the dude that looks like Machine Gun Kelly, Stefan.
Oh yeah, that fucking guy.
Yeah, he was with her at first. She was like, "Oh, I'm interested in him because he's got the bad boy look." And then the Patrick dude is the dude from Hawaii who's serenading her and telling her he loves her. And then Harry, the guy from England, he was kind of on the outside looking in. He made out with her on the first night before they learned that they were on Too Hot to Handle.
I don't want to spoil anything from season 3 for you. And I don't remember it that well because, again, a lot of it just sort of runs together. And we've watched so much trash television since then that, my memory on this stuff is just awful. Okay, all right. So I kind of see what happens. All right, I won't spoil. Who is Harry with right now?
He's with Bo. He just got with Bo because they were just friends at first, and then they started vibing and stuff, and they just got the watches, so they were the first ones to get the green light.
Oh, okay.
They gave Holly and Nathan the watches, and they just
didn't.
They're they Lana, can you just turn it on so we can?
Yes, Holly and Nathan had the very it was clearly just a sexual relationship. Yeah, they got that, and it was okay, turn it on, and then. I don't want to spoil anything for you, so I won't say anything. But yeah, that's just
I already can see where that's going. It's not
okay.
It's not going well.
I'll spoil this, and I apologize. So they do their single date, and all they talk about is all right, when's the light coming on? Let's have sex. And it's it's about having genuine connections and stuff. And then they're just so disappointed. Wait, why didn't we get a green light? We're on our private date here and we're having fun and stuff. Why didn't we get a green light? All y'all talking about are fucking each other.
All
that's
y'all
why you're
are
not
talking
getting
about
a green light.
Is looks, and Bo, on the other hand, they show Bo and Harry, and they're I had my wall up, and you told me that you like Georgia, so I didn't want to get my hopes up and get hurt in the process. They're talking about real feelings, even to the point Harry says oh, I forgot the watch was there, and I was that's the whole point. That's how you make these real genuine connections. And it was just man, there are so many trash people on the show. When they even first put the watches on, and they're 2 of you people are going to be gone. And I called it right from the start. I was it's going to be Jazz and Truth. because Truth is already talking about he doesn't want to be on the show anymore because Truth is the one that had the two girls, Jazz and Izzy, and he lied to both of them because they did the whole workshop where they were on top of each other, and he's like, yeah, I didn't feel this way with Izzy, and then he goes to Izzy and he's like, yeah, I told Jazz that I was more interested in you, and he's like, you know on these reality shows you're always gonna get caught, like regardless of if it's on the show or after they watch the show, they're gonna realize you lied to them. So both girls were basically done with him, and then after that he's like, oh, I don't want to make any genuine connections with anybody. I think I might leave. And it was like, obviously you're gonna go. And then Jazz, she started I think they brought in I think his name is Obi, the guy that he kind of looks like Kofi Kingston in a way. They
Right.
brought him on the show, and he was like, actually feeling her, and she's like, oh no, you're short, and you're not the age that I want. And it's just like, are you even trying? Like, you're not even trying here.
There's been a few of those throughout these seasons where it's like season 1, who ended up just like getting eliminated because
The blonde chick that made out with Francesca on the first night.
I mean there's always blondes on these.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot her name. We're into season 3, so I always know them by blonde, brunette. There's only certain people. Like season 1, I remember Francesca because she was.
I think it was Haley.
Yeah, I think that sounds correct.
Yeah, she was just like, she made out with Francesca, and then after that, it was just very clear, like, she wasn't trying to form, like, any connections, and she's just like, I'm too good for this, like, I don't need to be here, type of thing, and then she just ended up getting eliminated, which is what should have happened. But yeah, there's always that one person who just, like, doesn't actually understand what it's all about, which, I mean, look, the premise of these shows are fucking stupid as hell, and I don't think anybody actually, like, I don't know if anybody, like, really, really changes when it comes to this stuff. If they do, bless them, but I don't know how much these work. It's great television regardless.
Yes.
But yeah, there's always that one person who is just like, I don't need this show. Like I'm just going to keep, and those are the people who just end up getting eliminated because they just can't change and see the point that Lana is trying to make. I do love when they do, like, they try to like sneak stuff and it's like, oh, Lana didn't see that. The cameras didn't see this and stuff, especially like when they're in bed at night and they're like, oh yeah, like, nothing happened and everything. And then it's like, oh no, actually, this happened. Like when they go, I think it might have been Francesca in season 1 when they're like in the little private suite and they're like doing some like dry humping and stuff. And they're like, what did we do wrong? It's like, you motherfuckers are dry humping, okay? Like I understand that this isn't full on sex, but the point is you can't do like anything. There's like some light cuddling, and that's about it, and like some cheek and forehead kisses. That's like, you guys are full on dry humping. All right, like that's against the rules. Like we didn't do anything. It's like you did. Okay?
You definitely did. I was just like this last one, the season 3, when they gave Holly and Nathan the night and the thing. It was just like I was just hoping that they would listen to the people that had common sense, because I think it was just Jazz and Harry that were just like, yo, don't trust them. Like, let's not trust them. And then everybody's listening to Patrick, like, no, let's trust them. Let's try to get the money back. And then she's like, well, if you trust them and they fail, you lose $57,000 more. And then they come back and they're like, oh yeah, we had a good night and stuff. It was like handcuffs and whips, and it's just, they're all just like, damn, like we know y'all messed up. Y'all messed up. And then he's like, they did not follow the rules, and it's just like, oh my god, they was like, and then Holly was the one that got mad at everybody else, like, why did y'all trust us? Like, what? Are you serious? Because all they did was kiss twice, and it's just like, for 2 kisses, for all of that, you should have just had sex. Like, you had the private suite, and you weren't gonna follow the rules. You might have said, well, just gone the full like, Monty.
That's where we were when watching the show. It's like, okay, how much is this worth? How much is that worth? And it's like, if you're just going to do all of this, like if you're going to kiss this much, or if you're going to do oral stuff, whatever, it's like, just go ahead and have sex at that point. Yeah. Like if you're going to jerk off, like, I don't know if you've the one dude who I don't remember if it's which season it is. One dude like jerks off in the shower because he can't like.
What's his name? Himself. Cam in season 2. Yeah. Yeah, because he was the one that got. Then he gets offered a shower with another girl when he's
Right.
already got his girl Emily. Yeah.
So like if you're just gonna do that, like just go have sex at that point. Like just make it worthwhile if you're gonna lose this much money. Because when I'm watching it with the EP and we're talking about stuff, it's like, okay, well, how much do you lose? Like based on like if it's just like a peck, is that still the 3,000 or whatever it is as like a full on makeout? Because if that's the case, just go ahead and make out.
Yeah.
Like, and if you're gonna do like, okay, if I don't remember the actual money, I'm just spitballing here, but like if you're gonna do like oral stuff and that's 10,000, but sex is 15, just have sex. Like just make it worthwhile if you're gonna do it. Is basically the point.
Yeah, because I think one of the ones in season 2, I think it was Cam and Emily, she just touches like his dick, and that's like $4,000, and he didn't even get off. It's like you should have just. It's only $6,000 if you actually blow your load. Like why not spend the extra $2,000 if you're gonna do that? Like he still had blue balls to the point that he had to jerk off in the shower. Like it's just like, bro, like you should have just had sex. Like get it over with. Like the Holly and Nathan one, it was like ridiculous. I think the first night, they blew like $30,000 because they doubled the amount because the it wasn't $3,000 per kiss, it was then $6,000, and they kissed 5 times, and it was just like for all of that, you should have just had sex.
Right.
6 would have been $20,000. Like you would have saved $10,000.
Oh man, what just tremendous trash that this show is, man. Like just peak trash television. I hope it comes back for another. You know what we're watching now? You know what we actually just watched? We're probably not going to get to Entourage reviews. Apologize for people who do tune in for Entourage reviews. Yeah, we'll get caught back up.
Got you for sure.
You know what we just watched? The Ultimatum on Netflix. So it's the same people who did Love Is Blind. Nick Lachey and Vanessa Lachey host.
Okay.
And it's basically they showed a preview for it at like the end of season 2 for Love Is Blind. But basically it's like this is so good. You've got to watch this, SP3. But it's basically like it's like 6 couples. I don't remember how many it is, but it starts off as 6 couples. It's 6 couples, and one person wants to get married, and the other person is hesitant, and so they give them the ultimatum, like marry me or we're done. All 6 of these couples are in this position, so they bring them into this loft, this hotel, whatever it might be, and it's like, hey, half of you want to get married to your partner, the other half are skeptical. Mingle, pair up with a different person, then you live with them for a week and do like a trial marriage, and then you go back to your partner and then you see how things work. There is this one scene on this show. It's early. It's during the choice. Like they're all gathered around this table and they make their choice of like, I want to pair up with this person and do the trial marriage with them for 3 weeks. This is after they've all mingled and stuff. This scene, honestly, SP3, one of the greatest reality television scenes I've ever watched. I'm not exaggerating. I watch a lot of trash reality television. I watch a lot of trash like dating shows like this. This scene is like peak trash reality television. The way these people are talking and interact, and like the shit that happens on this. It's not even like the talk, like the moments that happen during this scene. You've got to watch this show. When you finish Too Hot to Handle, go to the altar. You watch Love Is Blind.
Yeah. I watched the first season and after the altar.
Okay, so you'll appreciate like this show and like the production and like the format it is on. And did you watch Temptation Island? You've watched some of that, right?
I've only watched like a few episodes when it used to come on. I think it was after either Raw or NXT. Yeah, I used to watch it, a little bit of that.
Okay, so I just explained the concept to you. It's great trash reality concept. Like, hey, let's take these 6 couples where half people want to get married and the other half don't, and they're all just like doubting their relationship and stuff, and throw them in a building together. Like, it's a fucking tremendous trashy concept. This scene, SP3, I'm telling you, you'll know it when you see it. When you watch this, you're gonna come back to me and you're gonna be like, Jeremy, oh my god, like that just blew my mind. Like you were right. Like that was just next level reality television. See, Josh says, I heard a lot of good things about The Ultimate. There's nothing good about, sorry, John, I can't read. There's nothing good about this show. it's god awful. It's terrible. These people are terrible, but man, it's some great reality TV.
I will say the Too Hot to Handle season 2, season 3. You were correct. This is great trash television. So I'm gonna see if I could talk the wifey into watching Ultimatum as well. So we'll see if we can.
It's good.
We were trying
to figure out something to watch, and I remember seeing the preview for it after season 2. And I knew it premiered like after WrestleMania week. And so I was like, oh yeah, like that happened. But then it slipped my mind. And so last week we binge watched this show in like 3 days. And we timed it to where like the final episodes were released this past Monday. So like instead of watching Raw, we just watched like the final 3 episodes of it. So yeah, we timed it out like perfectly to where we could just easily binge it, not have to wait on it or anything. But like, yeah, on like Friday night or Thursday night last week, I was like, oh, you know what we should watch? And like we both just looked at each other. We're like, Ultimatum, because we remembered that it was a thing. So EP and I were on the same page. It's so fucking good, SP3. You gotta watch it. It's
beautiful,
so good.
Beautiful stuff. That's love right there, ladies and gentlemen. When you look at each other and you know exactly what
exactly what trashy show you want to watch. We're watching X on the Beach now. Like
we finished all 3 seasons of The Circle. That was actually really good. Just because we watched it like in the wrong order. You okay? Okay. We watched season 3 first, then we watched season 1, and then we watched season 2. And season 2, like they had the winner was someone who like posed as their husband. And like it was like mind-boggling because there was so many signs that this wasn't a man. Like I was like, how did this person win? But that's just how it is with these shows. I love that concept though. Like because it had 2 seasons where actual people won the show that went in as themselves, and then that one season was the only one that a catfish actually won. So I find that the Circle very interesting. They got new episodes I think coming out May 9th. So season 4.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm gonna try to talk the EP into going back and rewatching that. I don't know if she's gonna like fully like it. She likes the dating stuff. Like that's what I've like really sold her on is like the dating stuff. But she might get into it and enjoy it. I remember why I watched the UK because this started off as a UK show, The Circle, and I watched the UK seasons first, and it was like really good. And then it got brought to the US, and that was one of my favorite shows to watch. I'm glad there's new seasons coming out.
Yeah, like I really liked season 3, and then season 1 I got into once Ed came in because I was like, I know Ed from the challenge. I was like, oh, and he came in with his mom too. It was funny. It was funny. It was like, oh, and then I got into season 2 because Ed's brother comes in. I'm like, yeah, you can obviously tell this is Ed's brother because he looked exactly like Ed. And I was like, oh, I want him to actually win. And then he got basically cut the same time as his brother, but but that is a fun concept. So yeah, these are the reality shows for people who watch, ladies and gentlemen. Circle, Too Hot to Handle, Temptation Island, Ultimatum. There you go.
Just the trashiest of trash. I got Bam says coffee and listening to you guys. Good start today. Thanks, Bam. Appreciate it, man. Hope everyone has a very good Friday. I am off all weekend. My parents are visiting me. First time my parents are visiting me since I moved to Ohio last February. So I'm going to treat them to the great state of Ohio. Should be a fun weekend. SB3, what are you getting into this weekend?
Well, got True Hill Heat tomorrow, 11:05 a.m. Eastern time. It's going to be myself, Miss Chrissy Love, as my daughter talks in the background. It's going to be myself, Miss Chrissy Love, and Cassidy Haynes of BodySlam.net. So check us out. True Hill Heat 172. We're going to be talking about Kushida leaving WWE, FTR, all that good stuff. So that's going to be fun. And then other than that, I'm going to take my kids to the park like I usually do. Nice. I have to catch up on Ozark as well because Ozark part 2, the season 4 part 2 starts next weekend. So got to get that out the way. Check out the Jimmy Macaram YouTube channel where I watch and react to that show. So that's going to be fun as well. And then NBA playoffs. That's what I'm going to be watching. It comes on at a more reasonable time on the weekends, so I can always catch those games. So that's always fun as well. So that's what I'm going to be doing with my weekend. Family stuff, True Hill Heat, and catching up on shows.
Busy man, SP3. You deserve a break as well. Everyone get over to Fightful Overbooked. SP3 is going to be there in just a couple moments with Steven Jensen doing Degrassi Dudes. So everyone go over there, support them. Tells you Steven Jensen I said hello. And everybody, no matter what you're doing this weekend, have a good weekend. Everyone, you will not hear from me until Monday. I'm logging off of Twitter outside. I'm sure I'll tweet some dumb shit. But
Smart move.
And I'm so excited to just get away from everything, see my family. Spend a bunch of money on stuff. It'll be good. It'll be good. Everyone, I think we're going bowling tomorrow. That'll be fun. My parents are taking EP and I out to a nice dinner tonight. So.
Oh, yeah. This is wonderful. We got to at least get pictures next week. At least a picture.
I'll take a picture of. I mean, I'm sure my mom's a big star. She's been on the show, so she's got an ego about her. So I'll take a little family photo.
I remember when she called on air and I said I loved her work.
Yes, she did. That's right. She did call on this show. I forgot. My mom, she really is. She's been on like all of these shows. My mom, she's a star, man. Guys, enjoy your weekend, whatever you're doing. Everyone take care. We'll be back next week talking playoffs and more fun stuff.